Welcome back, and man, have we been going at it on the break. I'll tell you what, talking about everybody, including some that we don't even want to talk about. So I'm going to give David here a chance to tell us why the Ravens made out in the draft. Or did they lose too much before the draft by free agents going elsewhere?
The smart thing the Ravens are doing that I'm glad they're doing, that the Patriots are masters of and the Steelers do a good job as, is they don't hold on to guys too long. Okay, if you're going to make a mistake, let a guy go a little early instead of a little late. Because if you hold on to him a little late, then you're done. It really hurts you long term. So they did lose some depth. They did lose some veterans this year, but they're bringing in. You got to trust your draft. You got to trust the young guys that you brought in. Otherwise, don't bring them in. So they're giving the guys that are behind them a chance to come up, and they let some big guys go. Jared Johnson's going to hurt. Jared Johnson's going to be good this year. I'm not saying letting him go was smart, but you had to do it because you got linebackers behind him that need to come and they need to play. Okay, you can't just keep all your older guys. You got to let some of those guys go, like they have. Ben Grubbs would have been great, but they just couldn't afford him. They couldn't afford to dedicate that amount of money to the guard position. They had too many other needs, and that's what you have to do as an NFL team. And that's it. I'd rather this year the Ravens just be a 9-7, 10-6, and on the upswing, than finish 11-5, and then next year we're 4-12.
And they did replace Grubbs. They got Gronkowski,
right,
the guard from Delaware, and it was the 4th round. Losing Suggs is going to hurt. That makes the draft pick of Courtney Upshaw all that much better.
Suggs is a big, like we talked about before. Suggs is not only big because this year, but because it's an Achilles injury. The history of guys in the NFL that are impact players that have major Achilles injuries, tears, is very bad. Guys you lose your explosiveness, you lose your power. It's very difficult to come back from Achilles injury. Even if you're a guy that doesn't, like a quarterback that doesn't rely on it, but to rely on your Achilles and have to come back, it's tough. The chance that he will ever be the player that he was is slim. I don't care what anyone says or Terrell Suggs, because I know he want to be, but it's just Achilles is probably the most devastating thing you can have happen to you as a power rusher like he is.
I have a question for you. What's going to happen with Suggs contractually if it's determined that he really injured himself playing basketball? I'm sure that his contract says he's not allowed to be doing anything like that. So if it is determined that that's how he incurred the injury, what's going to happen? Is he going to be docked money, or
I don't know.
How's that going to work out?
I'm not sure. I can't speak on that, but I can say this. You know what? I think how he hurt his Achilles is immaterial, because one of the Suggs' problems in the past has been he's coming to camp out of shape. So if the guy's playing basketball, it's his attempt to do something to stay in some kind of shape. And he even stated that. I was attempting to get in shape because I want to do well in the run. They have a run and they want him all to do well in. So if he was playing some basketball, I'd see the so what. So what? It's not. And if his Achilles was going to go, if it didn't go when he was playing basketball, it was going to go during drills the first week of camp. If it's going to go, it's going to go. It's not like he was doing something. He was trying to win the strongman competition and training for that and putting tremendous force. I mean, if he's just playing basketball, jogging lightly up and down the court, and it blew, it was going to blow anyway.
That's interesting, because basketball is a sport to stay in shape. He wasn't snowboarding.
Right.
He wasn't climbing a mountain.
I'm sure there's something in his contract that says he's not allowed to.
But you know what? The Ravens are too classy, I think, to pursue that. The guy was making a genuine effort to stay in shape. Like Chris said, he wasn't out snowboarding or doing something that was crazy or whatever. So I hope they don't go that way. But his injury to them is not only this year, but long term. He just won't be. He'll never be the same. And that what exposes them this year. Sergio Kindle. This is when we're going to see this year. If Sergio Kindle doesn't step up, he never is going to step up. I'm very doubtful that he ever will be the player he was before he fell down those stairs. But if there ever is a time that he can be, it's this year, because they're going to need those two young guys on the corner. They're going to need Upshaw, and they're going to need Kindle on the corner with Kruger and Paul Kruger. But Kruger, I have very doubts that Kruger can hold the edge. You need those guys like the size of Kindle and Upshaw to hold the edge. I don't think Kruger can do that like other guys do. But getting to the draft, it's very apparent. I mean, the Ravens put on a happy face about it, but they missed out on probably the 4 or 5 guys that they really wanted. And when you're in that position that they're in late in the draft, you're at the mercy of every single team in front of you. Unless you're like the Redskins that are willing to mortgage the entire future on a guy. And the Ravens are too smart for that, then you just got to sit and patiently wait and take the best guy that you can where you are. You can't start trying to jump up to get a guy, because the value you get from him is 9 times out of 10 in the history of NFL, not equal to what you give up. So thankfully the Ravens didn't do that, and they got a guy. but it was clear that the guys that they wanted were just going off the board left and right, and that's why the Ravens were shifting around and doing what they do, but maintaining integrity for the future, which was huge. But they didn't have the draft that they wanted, nowhere near it. I gave them maybe C+ on the draft for shucking and jiving and maybe going to those lower rungs of the college and picking up some of those unknown guys, which they do great because they have great scouts, guys that people didn't know about. And the Ravens have always done well with that. Late round, undrafted free agent rookies, nobody does better than the Ravens on those guys. Guys coming out of nowhere. Late round guys like Adalius Thomas. Late round guys like Bart Scott.
Giants do well with that too.
Yes, Giants do.
Not too many teams.
Steelers also.
Not too many teams do better than the Ravens. But clearly, on the top end of the draft, they just didn't get the guys they wanted. And it happened the year before because they wanted Gronkowski and Hernandez tight ends, and the Patriots beat them to it.
On both picks.
On both picks, which you got to give it to the Patriots, like we talked about. Somehow the Patriots, you can say what you want about that organization, but they do it right. Any team that can get to the Super Bowl and then the next year just have so much abundance of picks like they do year after year, you hate them because they're just good.
I have a question for you, Ravens experts. What about Flacco? Where does his career stand right now in terms of? Is this a make-or-break season for him? I mean, he's been to the AFC Championship game a few times. I also want to say that. Didn't he come out and say this offseason that I am the best quarterback in the NFL?
He did, but he's in a contract year.
Yeah, a contract year. So where does his career stand?
I think he did a heck of a job last year. I saw him beat the Steelers twice. I saw him take that team to the AFC Championship game. I saw him drive the Ravens down the field in the last minute of the game and throw a touchdown pass. Let's be honest. He put the ball right in the guy's hands. So if you want, what do you want him to say? I'm a top 15 quarterback? I mean,
don't say anything.
I mean, but you're
don't put that kind of pressure on yourself.
I know, but Eli Manning did it. He said, "Hey, I'm a top 5 quarterback."
That's right.
He won the Super Bowl MVP and won the Super Bowl again. So I'm by no means a Raven fan, and you know that. I'm by no means a Joe Flacco fan because he couldn't even win a starting job at the University of Pittsburgh. But I see the guy really evolve as a quarterback, and it is his team, and he is becoming a good quarterback in the NFL. And like I said, I don't have a problem with him saying that. Go out and feel and back it up. He almost did it last year.
Well, what if he has a subpar season, though, given the fact that you're saying that the Ravens didn't address a lot of their needs? What if he has a subpar season and he's in a contract year? What do the Ravens do? Do they automatically resign him?
They have to sign him.
They have to sign him. What are their options? Where are they going to go? They're not going to hit the free agent market and sign someone better. They're not going to draft someone better. So I mean, really, the Ravens and Joe Flacco are married. Yep. They're married, and for better or for worse. And that's the way it is right now. And I'm a Ravens fan, but I don't think Joe Flacco is elite. I think he's good. I think he's on the high end of he's very good quarterback, but he's not an elite quarterback.
He has his erratic moments.
He's inconsistent. He can just as easily as he can drive a team down the field like he did against the Patriots and threw a perfect pass to Lee Evans. Lee Evans dropped. And Joe Flacco did everything he needed to do at the end of the game for the Ravens to win. It was out of his control. He's the same guy that can throw passes sometimes. You're like, where's he throwing that? Where did he throw it? How'd that happen? He's not in the elite category. I don't think he can pick a team up and say, follow me to the Super Bowl. But he can be a very good quarterback. And if the Ravens can plug some people in around him, they can be very good.
I got a question for you guys because it's really prevalent in the news today with the concussions. Junior Seau just committed suicide. You had Bountygate. Do you agree with the suspensions in Bountygate?
No.
Sean Payton gets a year. Joey Bick gets 6 games. Mickey Loomis gets 8 games. Jonathan Vilma gets a year. Scott Vegeta gets 3 games. Will Smith gets 4, and Anthony Hargrave gets 8. All these guys get suspended for Bountygate. But the New England Patriots outright cheat, videotaping signals to win Super Bowls, and Bill Belichick doesn't even get 1 game of suspension.
Well, I think these guys should be punished in some way. First of all, why are you putting bounties out at this stage of the NFL? I mean, the game is so violent in the first place. I mean, these guys are going to get hurt anyway. So why are you putting bounties down on this?
Well, it's for them. Throughout the NFL and throughout football, there's a lot more than anybody's willing to admit, stuff like that. Probably not as clear cut as that, and maybe there were some mistakes made. But what the shame of it for the Saints is they're being made an example of. The NFL is facing right now huge litigation from players, ex-players, about concussions, about injuries, and here you have the Saints come along. They're now the poster child for players getting injured unnecessarily. So the NFL is saying, you know what? Here's a perfect opportunity for us to make an example of people, to show everybody how serious we are about players' safety. So not only is it a PR move, but also at the same time, it buries the Saints with the players and the coach suspension. They're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. This was the wrong time for this to come out based on all the concussion talk.
The wrong time. So is it really a PR move? It's the wrong time.
No, wrong time for the NFL. No, wrong time for the Saints. But the NFL jumped on it and said.
NFL jumped on it.
NFL jumped on it and said, we're going to make an example of the Saints to show everybody how serious we are about this type of stuff, and we're going to go overboard on the suspensions, overboard on the fines. I mean, because really, think about it. Suspended Jonathan Vilma for a year based on no evidence that he ever, they have zero evidence that he ever paid or offered to pay anyone. It's total hearsay. And for them to take his livelihood away from a year, I don't see how it could possibly stand up.
Well, I also understand is that football is a violent game.
You
cannot make the game not violent. These guys are big, they're strong. I play the game. I used to hit hard. I had concussions. But you accept that when you put that helmet on, you're going to go out
That's
there.
right.
You're a defensive tackle on my corner. If you were a guard pulling on me, I'm coming up to hit you as hard as I can.
I agree.
If my head gets in the way and I get a concussion, well, that's part of the damn game.
What grounds are these guys suing the NFL?
When you cash the checks,
they know they're going to get hurt.
When you cash the checks, you're assuming that responsibility. Don't play and don't cash the checks, and then come back later and say we had no idea, because those guys knew.
What they're suing
They're saying the NFL didn't take care of them.
What happens is if I have a concussion and I come off the field and I'm woozy and I'm out, and the guy comes up to me and says, okay, you look great, get right back in, there's nothing wrong with you. And then it happens again, and they're putting you right back in the game. You miss three plays, you're back in the game. Your brain's swelling, you don't know where the heck you are, but that's why they're suing. And I understand that point of it too. Okay, the doctors and the NFL, they were putting these guys back in harm's way. But in the same token, I have a problem with someone being fined when a receiver comes across the middle and gets hit by a safety. That's what he's supposed to do.
Right, but if that receiver is being intentionally targeted, if beforehand...
Well, of course he's being intentionally targeted.
No, I'm saying
he's trying to catch the ball.
Every guy that steps on the field is intentionally targeted. That's what's really the total, the crazy in this whole situation is talking about, well, we're going to target this guy. Every guy that's on the opposite side of the ball is targeted by everybody else who's on the opposite side of the ball. There is no, like, well, this guy. You're trying to win the game. The Saints aren't going to say, well, we're going to hurt that guy. We don't care if we win the game or not. We just want to hurt that guy. Their point was they wanted to win the game, and in the process, if they knocked a couple guys out, that's football.
Oh, I know that. But what if the coach is leading the charge for
it's irrelevant.
Putting money down?
Okay, we got to start wrapping it up.
It's irrelevant.
Nice discussion. Great job, guys. Once again, my man, what's your name? Chris Marks, that's right. And the Redskin historian.
Thank you, Bill.
Michael Richman. And David Carroll.